Hello and welcome to part 9b of the fantasy version walkthrough. In this episode, like I said in the last one, we're going to deal with the second free trainers of Queen's Road. So first what we're going to do is we're going to go to the second portion of Queen's Road, and we will do so with the assistance of a max repel, which I have just used. It's not a massive walk, you just sort of run along this way. You can obviously go back to wherever and heal and then sort of try and make your way through normally. This trainer's in the way. This is not a Narbok, it's a Zorork, and then she has an actual Arbok for the second one. And then we make our way to the second part of Queen's Road. So, the first trainer you'll then fight is Roderick. You know, obviously, he leads with his Steelix, but first there's this guy with an Aggron, which is optional, because you can see you can just walk on the talons underneath. Here's Roderick. So I led with Lilypad, because it's pretty good against Steelix with its water-type moves. And also a special attack, magic attacker as well, which is good versus Steelix's high defense. It hits hardly anything with Earthquake, but it has its leftovers just like last time. We go with Bubble Beam, and we manage to knock it out. So we get the benefit from that. Bats hit the big 60. Next up is Sylveon, which I think is his strongest one. We figure we're trying to work out obviously which one to use, and we settle for Bat. And we don't go for Bird because it has Mystical Fire. So that was our logic there. Cross Poison hits to about half and poisons it, but it has Psy-Shot which knocks it clean out, and also a critical hit doesn't help either. But we're thinking, oh, if we just tank it out with Bird, we might be able to survive a Mystical Fire because it's not a stab, and hopefully we'll be able to get rid of it using Poison. Instead it opts for the Shadow Ball, and then Poison takes it down to red, so then the trainer uses a full restore. We then hit it with a super effective Steel Wing in the hopes that another one would knock it out. It does hit us with Mystical Fire in the end, doesn't knock us out, but it goes down. And that's 2 down, including his best one. Camerupt's next. Camerupt, if you've got a water or a ground type, it'll go down very fast. I think we Oko this one, actually. No, not quite, because it is quite bulky and it packs weakness policy. So it actually managed to trick us using that. But if most water types will sort of knock it out fairly easily, apart from Lilypad just then, which was a bad example. Also, if you don't want to activate weakness policy, just maybe use neutral moves on it, but it's pretty decent. Next up's a Scavalier. This one's just like Camerupt, set with fire. It's 4 times weak to fire, but it does have an Occa Berry, so it'll probably not get knocked out the first time, but certainly will the second time. And plus, its moves aren't very good against fire types anyway, which is what happens with Dog. Achelgor's next. We decided to stick with Dog and go for another Flamethrower, but it outspeeds, of course it does, because it's Achelgor, and with the Bug Gem enhanced Bug Buzz knocks us out. Sends out Dragon. I don't know why, I think we just went for Raw Power again on this one. We went for the Outrage, but now I'm looking at the footage. I probably should have used Rock Slide. That probably would have been better. But nonetheless, we go for Outrage. We don't get knocked out. Second Outrage knocks it down. So that's Chelgor dealt with. So we're doing pretty well against Roderick. In fact, we just beat him. So that's obviously great. His 2 has been dispossessed. And we move on to the next one after healing, which obviously I told you I wasn't showing the footage of. This trainer is optional. You can just walk around, which has the 2 Sinnoh fossils if you fancy getting a bit of an extra XP. And you just sort of jump down this ledge and make your way further east to the next trainer, which is Ash. And here she is. And this one I don't think I beat the first time. In fact, it was the second time. And we'll cover that in a minute. So she is obviously turning up. Starts with a Rangaroo, so we figured we'd go for the sort of, the usual Power Trip combo. It's got much the same strategy as when you beat her the first time, with a sort of Trick Room, room service angle. So we went for quite a slow Pokemon anyway, and it doesn't even matter because Corviknight's really bulky. So that's what we did. It goes for the Focus Blast, but because it's Focus Blast it misses, because it never hits. Power Trip almost knocks it out once again. This time it does go for the Trick Room and the Room Service combo. Once again it misses the Focus Blast, and we knock it out with Power Trip again. We thought it might heal, that's why I went for Power Trip and not a different move like Steel Wing. dragon leveled up. Glaceon's next. We decided to stick with Bird because of Steel Wing and because Ice is only neutral rather than super effective. And it's already, buffed up with its Hone Claws. And also Steel Wing's just increased its defense too. So Glaceon goes down relatively easily, which is always helpful. It's not that difficult anyway. Snorlax turns up as the tank that it is. Goes for the belly drum, just like last time. So we decided to go for Power Trip. Hits quite hard. So I have a few strategies in my team if this didn't work and it didn't knock it out. I was going to use either Haze on Crobat or I was going to use Foul Play on Houndoom, and they would both either hit really hard on it or get rid of its belly drum bonus. Next is Diamanitan, the hardest one by quite a bit. It's obviously a Galar one. We're kind of stuck about what to do. Do we go for Power Trip or Steel Wing? We settle for a Power Trip and hit quite a lot on it, and it transfers to its Zen mode. It then goes for Stab, Flare Blitz, and knocks Bird clean out. I think our mentality at this point was also that Flare Blitz will recoil it, so we could just basically have it recoil itself and knock itself out that way. We were really trying to work out the strategy at this point. It's really fast as well because it's just used the Salic Berry. So it would outspeed even Bat as well. Bat goes for the Haze to get rid of the Salic Berry speed boost to try and outspeed it. And then I'm sort of trying to work out the strategy after this. Cross Poison does barely anything, and then Icicle Crash knocks it out cold. Super effective, 6 levels higher, and Stab. Crobat stood no chance even when it's bulk. Sends out Dog. I don't know if we're going to go for a Flamethrower or go for something a bit more different. I really don't. I think I was sort of panicking at that minute because I really didn't have a good counter to it, and I'd lost to it already. Went for the Protect for some reason. I don't know. I don't think we were trying to PP stall. I think we were trying to work out it's sort of the strategy that the AI was using. Goes for Dog, and then we knew it would use Icicle Crush, so it didn't hit much. We knew then it does it once again. We knew we wouldn't be able to outspeed, which is unfortunate. So we really were sort of panicking. Just sending out whoever. We then thought Hattie with the Charm would help, which it did to an extent. And we thought heal Hattie again and then go for another Charm because it's going to hit less each time. But unfortunately it critted, so then Hattie went down. And then we were like, oh, why not? We'll just send out Dragon. And we were anticipating that we'd actually lose this one as well, and then we'd have to come up with another strategy. It goes for the Rock Slide, but then we luckily managed to get the flinch. Zen mode, and this is very clever, because she goes for the full restore, but then now it's, because it was Zen mode, it was 4 times weak to Rock, and now gets knocked out and OHKO'd by Rock Slide. So I thought that was quite clever and funny. But it's knocked out and it's not our problem now. I didn't really have much Pokemon left, so I was like, how are we going to manage this Bewear with the team we've currently got? And of course the answer is to revive one of our teammates. The obvious one was Dog, because Bewear Cow is fluffy and doesn't have that high of a magic defense, I don't think. So that was the strategy we went for. We then went to switch into Dragon to allow the space for us to heal Dog. Or actually we didn't, we just decided to outrage it instead. Bewear's speed's been dropped now because of Hammer Arm, so now we're not worried about it potentially outspeeding Dog. And I think from that angle we know full well that we can knock it out. But it knocks out Dragon first, and literally we are hoping that Dog will be able to pull through and knock it out using a Flamethrower. Of course it does, and Bewear goes down, and we defeated Ash for the second time. Just one Queen's Road trainer left, pardon me. And this guy is one we haven't fought before, but on the way you'll fight a guy with a Hydrogen, who's actually avoidable, but we share the footage anyway. We've not fought this guy before. It is none other than the Dragon Slayer from early on in the game. So we decided to get Dragon up front for that, which is ironic in itself, but hey. Sends out Alolan Marowak, so we figured we'd just go for the Rock Slide combo after using a Dragon Dance, of course, and now it's Swords Dance. So we're praying for an OHKO here. Unfortunately, we don't manage to achieve it, but we do get a flinch. But unfortunately, as luck would have it, we miss and then it knocks us out with Flare Blitz. It's got Rock Head, so it doesn't do recoil damage, so that's not a strategy either. We then go for Lily Pad, Bubble Beam. Luckily, Marowak's not that fast, so we managed to outspeed it and knock it out before it could OHKO us that time. Passimian, we weren't worried about Passimian. We had Hattie, who's really good against fighting types, and it uses Bulk Up instead of any other move, and we basically just end up OHKOing it with Psychic. So that was probably one of the most pushover members of Part 9. all together. Vaporeon's next. This thing is not very offensive, but it will tank everything. As seen in this video, I spend literally minutes on speed trying to knock this thing out. With super effective moves, it barely does anything. You know, it's Scald. It's also got a Wish Protect combination. So it'll just heal, you know, even if the trainer runs out of healing items. So even with Lilypad's pretty decent magic attack, we can't really hit much on it with Giga Drain. It carries Aurora Beam and Scald, which don't hit much on Lilypad due to its typing. But that was the sort of strategy. We were just hoping that eventually we'd be able to Giga Drain it, or that it would be a crit, or any of these things. But instead he decides to finally withdraw Vaporeon and send out Absol. So Vaporeon's still here. Absol comes out. We're thinking we can't have Lilypad up there for much longer because it'll knock it out or it'll cripple it. So we switch to Bird. Goes for the Night Slash, it then goes for Close Combat. So now we're not too concerned because its defences are down. We think, oh, we can deal with this quite easily. But unfortunately, it leaves it on about 5 HP because why wouldn't it? Instead of healing Bird, we switch to Bat because we think that none of its moves will do very much. And we also think it'll outspeed and knock out, but of course it heals Absol. We're aware at this point it hasn't yet used Swords Dance. It does carry Swords Dance, but hasn't decided to use it yet. And of course it has Sucker Punch because, you know, why not? Why wouldn't it? And that's what it does. It knocks out Bat with Sucker Punch. And we didn't really think when we sent out Dog because we knew it would just outspeed in Close Combat. The Dog down, so Dog goes down as well. We think that it's in enough range for Lilypad to deal with it. And we use Giga Drain stupidly, and I'll tell you stupidly why in a minute. I should have used Bubble Beam. But I think we rather stupidly used Giga Drain. It goes for Dragapult, which is his strongest one. With a Fairy type, this one is very, very easy. It can't hit you with any of its dragon moves. It does carry Phantom Force, but for whatever reason known to man, it decides not to use it on Hattie and instead goes for a Dragon Dance. It carries a Roselli Berry, so you won't be able to knock it out. But the second time, it also goes for Dragon Dance, which is unusual, and we're quite lucky that it didn't go for Phantom Force. So it managed to knock it out with another Dazzling Gleam. And that's Dragapult dealt with. Next is Vaporeon's Return. And this time it's its last one. It can't switch out. We've only got 3 Giga Drain PP left. And of course the Dragon Slayer has a full restore. So we're really, really, you know, really on thin ice here. And it's got leftovers and it's got the Wish Protect. So at this point, we're thinking we're not going to be able to knock it out with just Giga Drain. We're going to have to try and use some other attacks on it too. So that's why we use Fury Swipes. As I say, it barely does any offensive damage. I'm hoping that we'll be in enough luck to Giga Drain it and for it not to Wish Protect. But unfortunately, it doesn't work because he once again heals Vaporeon. And we're pretty much stuck with no PP for Giga Drain. Bubble Beam does barely anything. Fury Swipes does barely anything. So we have to, and we don't have any items that heal PP. So that's why we've had to switch to another Pokemon. I chose Hattie. And I think we then went and healed up Bird. Oh no, we healed up Hattie. I think we were thinking, well, what can we do? We could either heal Bird, but then we were worried about Scald burning it. And Scald's also, it doesn't resist Scald as well, so we thought that Scald could hit quite a fair amount of damage that would be unsustainable with the healing. Nonetheless, we decided to heal Bird anyway, and used Hattie as the sort of sacrifice, which I've noticed is its usual role in these kinds of battles. Then I think we sort of go with the Hone Claws to try and OHKO it because we were very anxious about its Wish Protect combination. But we see how much damage Brave Bird does. It does a fair amount, perhaps not enough to knock it out. We go for the healing with Bird because we knew that Vaporeon's Scald would probably knock it out if we hadn't healed it. And we hope that Brave Bird does knock it out. It does manage to, because I don't know if it would have knocked it out if it wasn't a crit, but it did. And we finally defeated the Dragon Slayer and his team. So that is all 6 trainers finally dealt with in Queen Road. You obviously need to defeat them all to progress, and then once you do this, just a quite quick short path to get to Rosemary City. So that was that part done, and the next part, 9C, is where we will deal with Rosemary City and Blueberry Palace. And it's the last part of the game. Thank you very much.